notable for their singular leaping proclivities. Occasionally one would leap out and whirl sideways with a wrestling motion, something new to me. We saw many sailfish off Acapulco, Mexico, in which vicinity the ship officers informed me they sometimes saw thousands of sharks and swordfish. I was pretty well convinced that most ship captains cannot tell the difference between these fish. Off the coast of Panama, many beautiful tropical islands, some with high peaks, charmed our eyes, after so many glaring days on the wide, barren sea. We passed the Cape Lighthouse about dark and entered Panama Bay. Next morning, when we awoke, we were docked at Balboa. I found my ship, fisherman, something to explore, and more satisfactory than I dared hope. Here, at least, was objective proof of my investment, and something worth possessing. The after cabin had been built to extend over the forward hatch, and it contained 8 staterooms and saloon. Galley and crew quarters were new. Below deck there was a combination saloon and dining room, 4 bathrooms, a dark room for photography, tackle room, storerooms, a large refrigerator plant, 6 staterooms. And back of these the engine room, which had been Captain Sid's particular care and pride. It contained the 2 Fairbanks Morse driving engines, an engine to generate electricity for the lights and fans, another for the compressed air that forced water over the ship, an emergency engine to use in case of accident to the electric generator, and automatic pumps and devices. The tanks were all built of steel and fitted into the sides of the vessel. There were tanks for 5,000 gallons of crude oil and 1 for cylinder oil, tanks for 5,000 gallons of water and 2,500 gallons of gasoline. In the forecastle there was an engine to hoist sails and anchors. There were lathes, tool bench, forge, and carpenter's shop. The fishermen carried 3 launches. 1 swung over the stern, lashed fast, the other 2 in cradles on the main deck between the main and mizzen masts. These were launches upon which there had been spent much thought and work. They were intended to be an improvement upon the little boat we had sent to Nova Scotia and which had proved so successful with the giant tuna. These launches were built by McAlpine of Shelburne, after the famous Cape model so long used to battle the high tides and rough seas of the Bay of Fundy. They were 32 and 25 feet, respectively, round-bottomed, long and slim, and solid as a rock. The keels had been built particularly heavy so that iron bolts holding rings would furnish means by which they could be swung up on deck of the fisherman. Both boats had 2 New Jersey motors and 2 propellers, and various other features we had found good in different style models. This time, with the California, Florida, and New Jersey features, we combined several of Nova Scotia. For catching fish and battling the monsters of tropic seas, we had every kind of tackle that money could buy and ingenuity devise. The crew and 2 mates had been Nova Scotia fishermen and sailors all their days. Bob King, from Florida, was again with me, and this man had no peer in the use of cast net and gill net, in finding fish of any species and catching them. Captain Sid had spent 6 years with me in pursuit of marlin swordfish, tuna, and broadbill. R.C., of course, was in my party, and my son Romer. Also George Takahashi, my invaluable genius for all kinds of needs, and Chester Wortley, Mr. Lasky's favorite motion picture camera operator, and Jess R. Smith, cowboy and horse wrangler straight from the Arizona desert, his artist wife, her sister, Mrs. Phillips Carlin, and Miss Millicent Smith from New York. Romer's friend, Johnny Shields from Avalon, was along. And lastly, Captain Laurie Mitchell, the English sportsman and an officer in the late war. As this cruise was the most ambitious and hazardous and the most fascinating adventure I had ever planned, it was natural that I should